Much more stripes.
Okay, before we get started tonight, Chief S.R. Hunter with our fire department has an announcement, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Keith, come on down here. We would like to say farewell to one of our own, Battalion Chief Keith Cole. He's been with us for 33 years. That would be somewhere 82, 83, somewhere around there. 83. 83. So he's been with the city of Bethany, has been an inspiration, a great leader to the fire department. We hate to see him go, but his time has come, and we wish him well in his retirement. September 30th will be the last day, so we want to formally recognize Keith. I want to say great job and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Chief. I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Would you please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the flag salute, please? Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight, Lord, and we pray that you'll be with this council as we make decisions that impact this community. Lord, I pray that you'll be with our troops overseas, bring each and every one of them home safely. And Lord, we pray again that you'll bless this community as you have and continue as we move forward in this time of growth and prosperity. In your name we pray. Amen. Please face the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. The first item on tonight's agenda is the consent docket. We have items A through D. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve them.
Mayor, I'd like to pull item D and discuss that one and vote on that one separately.
Okay. Well, we have a motion for approval of all of them. Do we have a second on that first? Okay. Ms. Harris, did you want to entertain pulling that separately?
I'd actually like to leave it on.
Okay. Is there any questions or discussion?
Yes, I would like to discuss item D.
Okay, go ahead with your question.
On item D, that is acceptance of the final version of the comprehensive plan with revisions and authorization of final payment to MIG. Several months ago, we actually, some of the council voted, and it was a majority that voted to approve the comprehensive plan already. So I don't know why we're voting to approve it again. And what I'd like to do is just vote on the final payment to MIG. And then get busy with the revisions, because I haven't seen another plan with the revisions in it. And so there's not anything again to
Well, the item on the agenda is authorization of final payment. That's all it is.
No, there's an
there's
amendment
an
agenda.
Okay, then I'm sorry.
Yeah, that first version would have been fine in my estimation, just the final payment, but.
Basically, anybody voting would be voting on something they haven't seen yet.
Mayor, may I
Yeah,
address
go ahead.
that?
Absolutely.
I read the motion at the last meeting that said that we accepted the plan subject to certain revisions or corrections, or I didn't bring that with me tonight to read again, I apologize. But we needed to vote on those items that were corrected also. The council had not had enough time. They got it on Friday, we had a council meeting on Tuesday, and it was a 187-page document. So it was tabled and moved supposedly to the last council meeting. It didn't get on that agenda, so it was put on this one. So we really still needed to address those changes as well as be sure that MIG gets paid now. For their final payment, is my understanding from the finance director, that it's the last amount of money that we owe
But the
them.
meeting before that, it was already voted, the plan was accepted, period. We own it.
Excuse me?
The plan is accepted and we own it now. If we make any changes, it's not them, it's us making changes to a document that we own now.
Which my understanding is, after talking with the chairman of the steering committee, is that any changes that come now, which the comprehensive plan is just a guide, it will have changes from day 1 to day 30.
It's funny because the document doesn't say that, by the way.
That if we're addressing this issue, not the document itself, all we would be approving here are those changes that needed to be made that were, I want to say clerical, but there were map changes and words that were, I think some of the words one of the words that we used, they said, we are in dire financial, and we're not, but we could be. So we changed the word are to could in one given situation. The maps, we had Eldon Lyon on there incorrectly categorized, and because of your due diligence, it was corrected. And I apologize, I didn't bring the plan with those itemized on there, but those are the things that my motion addressed, that was seconded and approved by the majority of the council. So when this motion was made to not only pay MIG, because we were holding that money, but it was also for those corrections have also been made. I thought we needed to acknowledge those corrections haven't been made.
That motion, though, didn't address other changes that need, that a lot of us-
Any major changes that need to be made regarding zoning or ordinances or anything like that, that needs to start from the steering committee on planning and zoning. It doesn't need to be in the acceptance of a document that we're going to be working with for the next 20 or 30 years.
I disagree with that. There's some things there that need to be changed immediately.
The plan is complete. MIG did what they were supposed to do. They fulfilled their agreement. We need to agree to pay them. We accepted the changes that they have made. They're correct. We can't work through everything that's in this plan and decide whether or not we want to do it and when we want to do it and hold the money that we owe them until we make a final decision. This is never going to be a complete plan because it is a plan and it goes through 2030. We need to accept what they gave us and what we agreed to and pay a bill that we owe them for the job they did.
And then that's what I wanted to change the motion is to pay the MIG. And that in the first version of the item, that's what it was, just to pay MIG. And that I had no issue with that, but there are, as everybody said, it's a living, working document, and we're going to be working with it for 15, I mean, it's
We
2030
accepted the
plan, so,
plan.
yeah, so it's been accepted.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I don't see why we need to vote on that again. It's been accepted by the majority of the council. Not everyone voted yes on it, but it has been accepted, and I'm ready to pay MIG, and that's my vote is
So
to.
you're accepting the revisions by this
Let me
motion.
ask you, Councilman Holloway, then the agenda that was sent out to us Friday is the correct way you want to do it. We want to authorize final payment to MIG. The one that we just had handed to us, and the acceptance of the final version of the comprehensive plan with revisions. And I don't understand all the revisions that are in there.
I haven't seen them.
Well,
We received them via email 3-4 weeks ago, no, almost 5 weeks ago now.
I know three of us.
Yeah, they've had the plan for over a month.
And I have
this
looked through
correction to the
those.
agenda went out
Yeah.
the same day that you got your
Plan
packet.
that I have says final draft, May of 2016, and I've got dog-eared many pages that haven't been changed. One of the major things is Eldon Lyon Park is still in here at jeopardy, and this isn't fair to any of the entities or institutions in the city of Bethany or anywhere else that may want to change Eldon Lyon Park into a sports facility or anything else. That needs to be taken out. That's a citizens park, and so that's what needs to be removed. first and foremost whenever we're working on this.
Is your mic on?
It says it is.
Okay.
But we're not asking MIG to make those changes. We
No,
can
we're
make
not.
those
No,
changes.
exactly. That's why I'm saying
So-
we don't need to accept this. It's already been accepted by the majority of the council. What I want to do is pay MIG and be done with MIG, and then we need to get on with the work of doing this comprehensive plan. So let's get going.
When I asked Mr. Davis about this, he said that this was the wording of what was tabled. So that's the reason this wording was changed and what went out. And
Well, the major thing that I had in my revision that is not in this document that we've had and that I've read is taking Eldon Lyon Park out of jeopardy.
Can
Well,
we
I'm not
address the
accepting that-
motion in such that items that are pertaining, and I don't, Mr. Moore may have other things that need to be added to it, but something to the effect that, subject to the review by the steering committee of all entries in the comp plan regarding Eldon Lyon Park. Would that be something that we could do?
I don't know that it all has to be with the steering committee involved.
I would say there's some major things in there that need to be addressed very, very quickly. Expansion of nonconforming use and or building allowed by staff, minor special uses allowed by staff, administrative adjustments allowed by staff. None, things that don't come in front of us, we're not even gonna see. Those ought to be changed.
those should have been addressed during the many hearings and town meetings and everything else that we had, not at the time that it's time to pay MIG for work they did and that we approved.
I have no problem paying Meg.
Payment of MIG doesn't have anything to do with that's why I want to separate that out and let's pay MIG.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, may I offer a couple thoughts?
Absolutely.
Well, good evening, everyone. We have tried to pick up the ball from this last time this was taken up. I've asked a lot of questions, and we've had a lot of staff discussion about these items. And I did get a list of those things that were changed in what we would now consider the final version of the plan. It's changing words, changing typing, spelling issues that were in the plan. It was all very minor things. Those things that were major or substantive in nature, those were left out because that's a policy type of decision that you all need to consider, not staff just make a change on the wording kind of a thing. And I've got that list, there's a whole page of them, minor things. And then the final thing that was brought to my attention by Councilman Moore today was on the front page. We missed that, which is changing where it says final draft to final version. So that'll be corrected as well on the front page. But that's all very minor typos kind of a thing.
Well, we just know what version we're looking at that way.
Yeah,
as it
absolutely, and so
changes.
we'll email that back out. I think from council member Larson's point of view, there seems to be a little bit of confusion on whether it was accepted or not. And some members believe it was completely accepted, and some think that, well, maybe it wasn't, maybe we need to have these final changes. I would suggest that you did accept it, and then these are just minor things that we have corrected already internally. So I think you probably could go ahead and pay the bill, and then if there's additional substantive things that have been brought up tonight, then those could come back as a separate motion, and each one of those considered on its own merit, depending on how quickly you'd like to have those addressed. And we'll be happy to do that. And one of the things I was hoping to do is to have a follow-up item at the tail end of the meeting, where if that way we make sure we're all clear on the same page on what it is staff is going to do to follow up, and we'll take those action items, we'll work them, and then I will follow up the following meeting or before then and let you know how.
Are you talking about action items in the plan or action items to change the plan?
Action items to do whatever that might be on the agenda overall, whether it's on the agenda or it's this particular item. I hope that was helpful.
I think MIG has made the changes that we asked them to in our motion of acceptance, and I think that's all that we're accepting here is the changes that MIG was asked to make collectively.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. I'm going to call the question. Please post your votes for the consent docket. Got that, Susan? Okay. Item 2 is call to the public. If any member of the audience wishes to address the council, please step forward to the podium. First state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frida Keene, and address 7517 Northwest 27th Street. And I have just a slight problem that has to do with a ticket that was hung on my door. It was a red ticket, and it was because of a shrub that was left at the curb. And I didn't intentionally do it, but I left it there because I thought they might pick it up with the garbage. They didn't, and that was on a Friday. They left it on Friday. The Tuesday that they came back, they left me a red ticket. And I said, fine, I'm at fault, that's my problem. So I pulled it back off the curb, and this was probably 20, I'm not a good judge, but 20 to 30 feet off the curb. It was back on my property quite a ways, up towards my house. And sometime they took it, and they said that they only used an arm that would reach 10 feet. Well, I know what 10 feet is. And believe me, it was not on my property 10 feet. It was back 2 or 3 times that amount. But I didn't even think about it again until I got my bill, and they charged me $25. Well, I guess what I am objecting to is that I was going to have my grandson come over, and on a weekend. He works during the week, so I was going to have him come over on the weekend, and we were going to chop up and make it into little bundles and put it back out again. But they picked it up before I had a chance, which was like 2 days later. And I didn't think that was very cool, because I thought, well, at least give me a week to get it done. And I mean, I'm pretty healthy, but I can't do it all myself, so I needed help. But the thing about it was that I started looking around my neighborhood, and my neighborhood has trees and limbs that have been down since the spring when we had a bad storm. These trees and limbs have been there, and the grass is growing up through them, so that you know they've been there for a month or 2, or 3 or 4. And they've never had a ticket. They've never had theirs hauled off. I just wonder, why me? Why mine? And I have pictures on my cell phone, and I will show them to my council representative. And I just want to know, I paid my bill. I didn't pay the $25, so I'm probably going to get a fine on the $25. But do I owe that extra money? And I have talked to Ray, who's in sanitation. I've talked to someone named Buchanan. I've talked to the acting city manager before the new city manager. And I was just advised to come to the city council and present my case, so I did.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else care to address the council?
If you don't mind just sharing with the people in the audience that we can't really respond from the horseshoe, just so they'll understand
Sure,
that, so they don't.
Right. During call to the public, it's an opportunity for members of the public to express a concern, comment, whatever it is, to the council. But as policy, it's not an opportunity for response. So we will absolutely get with you and come to a solution for you. But in the meantime, we'll proceed with the meeting, and we'll get with you before you leave. Okay.
That's all you need to read, and I'll read the ordinance by title.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move on to item 3, which is consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1919, amending the Bethany Code of Ordinances, repealing the authority of the Bethany Municipal Court to prosecute offenses involving driving under the influence of intoxicating substances. Item 3A is consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1919 by reading by title only. Do we have such a motion?
So moved, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, this is for reading by title only. Please post your vote. Thank you.
An ordinance amending the Bethany Code of Ordinances titled, pardon me, Section 71.049 by repealing the authority of the Bethany Municipal Court to prosecute offenses involving driving under the influence of intoxicating substances and renumbering the section pertaining to transportation of alcohol on public streets, providing for repealer severability, and providing an effective date. I sent you a email a month or so ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, outlining some of the legislative action that took place this year, and this is one of them, which basically the state of Oklahoma has preempted the prosecution of municipal charges in our court for driving under the influence. All cases now will be filed in the county, and I think you've given some thought to the revenue losses we can expect from that. But this ordinance has 4 enacting sections, no emergency because this law does not become effective until November 1.
All right, item 3B is consideration and possible approval of sections 1 through 4 of ordinance number 1919. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any questions or discussion?
We've got one question for David. We really don't have a choice, do we, David? This is pretty much a matter.
Well, if you didn't repeal it, we couldn't enforce it anyway, so.
Okay.
The reason to take it off the books is that someone, a new officer or something, might accidentally prosecute it and cause a problem, so it'll just come off our books.
Are you saying you can still prosecute for drunken driving up until May the 1st?
No, November 1.
I mean, November 1, I'm sorry.
Well, the law is poorly written, but it says that no orders or cases will be issued by municipal court after November 1. So actually, we quit writing DUIs in August because our idea was to have all of our cases finished by November 1.
I have a question. If someone is in an accident and it's definitely a DUI, and our officers are responding to it at 39th and Council or 36th and Rockwell, they're not going to write a DUI.
No, they will. They'll just have to file state charges.
Yeah, they won't write it on our tickets. They'll take it to the county jail, and the district attorney will
So
file
we'll
the charge.
still be arresting people for
Was there not a system
DUI.
in place that they could have worked with to, where municipals were reporting to the state? Could they not have made that happen instead of messing with our?
It already does happen. It was a revenue
Why did
grab.
they change
It was a
that?
total revenue grab.
Yeah. It was,
Shame on them.
But
Shame on the state.
go ahead, David.
I was just going to say the Municipal Attorneys Association and the Municipal League tried to head this off. We even came up with some alternatives that we could support, and they just never got anywhere. There was a strong lobby in favor of this law, and it got passed.
We didn't prosecute every DUI anyway. I think a lot of them went to the county already anyways, didn't they?
Well, if they were felony cases, they for sure did.
If it was a second offense, they had to go to county, but first offenders, we were writing, when Botkin was here, we were writing 20 a month or better.
Well, there's actually been at least one that's kind of taken up, almost his place. So,
Yeah.
we were writing still a bunch of municipal DUIs every
Yeah, we
month.
were.
For us, it wasn't revenue. It was getting people that shouldn't be driving off the streets. It so happened that it was a first offense, or at least first that anyone could see, on their way of looking that stuff up. But, unfortunately, it does hurt revenue-wise, but, it also probably causes some officers in some locations and some cities to not go out looking for it either.
Let me
Which
give
is
you an
dangerous.
example of how this is going to work. Let's say a police officer gets off at 11 o'clock at night, and he comes on a DUI at 10:30 at night. That means he's probably not going to go home till 2 o'clock, because he's got to bring the person down, do the breathalyzer, take them down to the county, book them in, fill out the probable cause affidavit, and he spent 3 hours doing that. And number one, he's not going to like that. Number two, they're on overtime at that point. And then when they testify, instead of walking across the hall to municipal court, now they go down and sit in the witness waiting room down at the district court, maybe all day, waiting to testify. So it has several cons, I would say, from the city standpoint, in that there are times it's going to take one or more of our officers off the street to, process the DUIs through the county. And, the police will just have to deal with that some way. I don't know whether it'll involve people staying over past their shift on overtime, or whether people will be called in, but, it's going to cause some operational difficulties.
And this is done all for free, right? We
we get-
don't receive anything back from the county.
We get 25% of the fine.
Wow, 25%.
For 100% of the work.
Do 100% of the work. Well, no, that's not true. The judge has to do his,
But in answer to Councilmember Moore's question, no, there's really not any choice.
liquor lobby.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 4 is consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1920, amending Title 11 of the Bethany Code of Ordinances by repealing the regulation of massage establishments. Item 4A is consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1920 on reading by title only. Do we have such a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, please post your votes for reading by title only. Thank you.
An ordinance amending Title 11 of the Bethany Code of Ordinances by repealing Chapter 124, Sections 124.01 through 124.12 pertaining to regulation of massage establishments, providing for repealer and severability, and providing an effective date. This ordinance also is the result of a state law that preempted the regulation of massage establishments and transferred that regulation under a new law called the Oklahoma Massage Therapy Practice Act, and that'll be, I believe it's administered by I believe it's the Board of Cosmetology, but some state agency will administer this act. All that Bethany has the right to do is to charge a business license fee for establishments. And under our old ordinance, I think a few of you were around when we passed that ordinance. It had rather elaborate background checks. We did criminal history checks. I believe they were fingerprinted. They were photographed, and I'm not sure how the state is going to how aggressively they're going to pursue this, but typically the problems that have arisen in Bethany with regard to massage parlors were not related to massages, but other criminal acts that can take place in those establishments, and nothing about this prohibits us from enforcing those kind of regulations. So, again, it's a matter of the state preempting it. Why they did it, your guess is as good as mine, but
What's he talking about?
that's what they did.
What's he talking about?
All right, item 4B is consideration and possible approval of sections 1 through 5 of ordinance number 1920. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Is there any questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Item 5 actually was an item that I had put on the agenda, and I'm going to pull that off the agenda. We'll probably see that sometime later on, but we're going to do a little more work on that before we bring it to the council. So item 5 we're going to pull off. Item 6 is, yes.
Was that motion included under the massage occupational license?
No, that comes later. That's
item
Resolution
6.
1421, which is 2 more items down, I think, on the agenda.
And we'll just strike the last part of that language. So item 6 is consideration of possible adoption of resolution number 1421, establishing an annual occupational license fee for massage therapists licensed under the Oklahoma Massage Therapists Act. And there'll just be a period there. We're going to strike the rest of that language since we're not taking the rest of that up tonight.
Yeah, since that last ordinance was pulled,
This resolution will
and in the
just deal
first
with that.
sentence, it needs to talk about, we need to delete the licensing and regulations of special event permits. So it'll say, cost of providing the annual occupational license for massage therapists.
David, I'm confused. I went to OSU, but I'm confused. Were these two mixed on the same page?
They are, but we're deleting all the references to the parade or special events.
Why would they be on the same page?
Actually, this is a supplement to we have a resolution that is authorized by ordinance where you set all of the fees charged throughout the city for every business license, contractor's licenses, all in one resolution. This just adds these fees to that resolution.
Okay.
And since we were originally doing 2 different fees, it was just both on the same resolution. But
So
we're removing that part
The
of the
only thing
resolution.
that will be left here is to adopt an annual license fee of $25 for massage therapists. That's all that will be left here.
Not a major event, an annual, down at the bottom.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're going to strike all that, all the language having to do with the events is going to be stricken.
Okay.
Sorry for that confusion.
But this is, there is, on our fee resolution currently, there's not a license fee for a massage establishment, and this places that on that fee resolution.
And so there'd be a period after massage therapist act, is that what you're saying?
Well, I was talking originally about just the item I was reading for this resolution.
Yeah, in the
In the
title.
resolution.
That's where the title would end, is with act.
Can you read the resolution in its entirety as we're going to approve it?
Sure.
To clear.
A resolution establishing an annual occupational license fee for massage therapists licensed under the Oklahoma Massage Therapy Act. Whereas the Bethany City Council determines that the fees should be established to cover the cost of providing annual occupation license for massage therapists. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Bethany that the following fees are hereby adopted and established. Annual occupation license fee for $25 for massage therapists.
Thank you.
That's how it reads.
Okay, so do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Is there any questions or discussion?
What are some of our other occupational license fees?
Oh,
$25 isn't much.
isn't much, you say?
No.
Oh, there's a whole laundry list of things. There's probably the most common is the retail business license or a business license for someone who collects sales tax. That's probably the biggest category. Then all contractors, builders,
Contractors are
plumbers.
$150, $200.
Yeah, they're
And
set
this is
at more.
25?
Yeah. The law is that you really can't charge more than it costs to issue the license and regulate. On the massage establishments, there's no regulation at all because you're barred from doing that. So all you're really doing is keeping track of who's in Bethany, and it's just a matter of having them come in, fill out a piece of paper, and you give them a license. And but now on a contractor, there is more regulation involved in that. And help me out, Steve, what are some of the ones I'm missing? There's house movers, demolition people, dynamite setters, all sorts of things. There's a 2-page list of occupations with an amount established for each one. But the general license, where we're not really regulating them, that's $25 generally.
But John, I've wanted for years to have a business license law or requirement in Bethany, because most of our businesses do not have business licenses in Bethany. Only if you have a sales tax permit, and then if you're moving houses or blowing buildings up, you have to have a permit. But we don't know what businesses are in Bethany. And that's why I'd like to have a business law or a business license ordinance or something where every business does have to have a permit. I have one, but it took me 2 years to get it because I don't charge sales tax. But if you don't charge sales tax and blow stuff up, you don't have to have a business license permit.
Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, how much is a lawyer?
Please post your votes.
For a lawyer?
Thank you. Item 7 is the city attorney's report. David?
All my items are on the agenda.
All right. Item 8 is the city manager's report. JD?
I'm going to start off with first deferring to our CFO, J.R. Robinson, for the financial report, then I've got some things to share.
All right.
Good evening. I want to just briefly go over the finances because I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about a subject that has come up in the city concerning our billing situation. During the month of August, our revenues totaled $1,472,000. That was $154,887 over our budget estimate. And revenues in August of 2015 were $1,376,000, so we're considerably ahead there. Our year-to-date expenditures have been $1,601,000, and that amount is $201,500 favorable when compared to our budget. Under the Bethany Public Works Authority, August revenues totaled through August $1,380,000. That was a little bit less than our approved budget expectation by $78,000. Our current revenues, however, do exceed last year by $40,000. Expenses were $986,297 compared to $944,208 last year. Capital Improvement Fund, those revenues have been $71,741. We've had no expenditures out of that fund so far this year. And that concludes the financial part of my report. But I'd like to share with you a note I received from one of our constituents. And on here she writes, need to rethink the new billing format. The pay stub will not fit into the return envelope. No glue on the sealing strip. Envelope and the bill. And Bethany News arrived in a difficult for senior citizens to open. What was wrong with the old system? And in addressing this, I'd like to say that we bought the old system sometime prior to my arrival. The thing never worked. We constantly had to go out of the city and have our bills stuffed. Now that's critical because we've got to get the bills to our customers on time. That's a no-brainer. And the computer doesn't know that our mailing machine isn't working. It's going to put the due date, and it has to be arriving at the customers on time. So, with that in mind, we have instituted a new system that gives us a lot more flexibility. However, there are some growing pains with it. And one of them is, how do you open the envelope? And we're still experimenting. Right now, it says open here in the middle of the envelope, and it turns out that's not a good place to open it. The better place is out here on the edge, and it's not a neat process, but that's okay. You're going to throw this away. And if I have difficulties, I too am a senior citizen, so I'm sharing you.
Maybe that's the problem.
I should have had Steve do this. All right, come apart. Anyway, see how easy that was? And, you know, the rest of it is a little bit self-explanatory. Part of the system includes, it prints out its own return envelope within there. And on the back, you'll see a little green strip, and that is the glue strip. And right above that is a perforated line where you carefully tear that off.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the good part. It is now done in color, so it is a lot more graphically appealing, and you can really see how much water you have been using. And at the bottom is your remittance stub. Now, it too tears off real easily. I didn't practice this.
Obviously.
And next month, your stub is going to say right here, fold here, because she's absolutely right. It will not fit in here without wadding the thing up. But if you take it and fold it like this and stuff it in here,
Make sure you put it in the half that still has a sealable flap.
there you go. It can be returned. Or you can use your own envelope, but we're providing this free of charge. Now, we make light of it. I understand the situation. We're going to be continuing to look for better enveloping systems or paper. This isn't the only available, but we'll learn and make it easier. But rest assured, this is a lot cheaper than what we were doing. It's saving the city and therefore the customers money. And it's going to give the city a lot better flexibility in delivering information to our residents. Anybody that would like to have one of these and practice on it before you get your own bill?
Before your real
I have
bill
samples.
comes.
And that's it.
I do have a question about that. Can you make it to save a few pennies to where you do not put in an envelope in the auto draft payers? Because a large percentage pay auto draft, and we don't need a return envelope.
I'm not sure whether our current system will
Yeah.
provide for that. It's something worth looking into.
That's a program.
Would you like?
He wants a sample.
Good luck. No, seriously, if you do look at it a little closely, you can see the fold lines, and you don't have to tear it up like I just did. But
It's
Was
been a
this a staged
consolation, my
act?
husband did the same thing.
she taught me how to do
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah, you called him out, okay.
But, no, and before we ever started this, I knew we were going to have some questions about it. And the very first day that, after we had mailed these out, we got 15 responses, very similar to this, only maybe a little more graphic than this response. So I picked one that we could share, and I appreciate her comment, so.
Thank you, JR.
JR, this is not any more difficult than most people's, the federal government has them where you tear off both ends and then you slip into the middle of it. It's still, but the information is presented in a much more ready format to understand than what we've had in the past.
And the flexibility for us to be able to communicate important things, for example, the upcoming big trash pickup, There's a multitude of things that, our customers say, why didn't you tell us? Well, we are enhancing our ability to tell them. And I know Steve's about to get our new website out there going. So this city has really made some progress in communicating with the people, and there will be some growing pains.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, JR. Shall I continue?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, well, very good. Well, hello again, everyone. It is great to be here. First meeting tonight. I've now been here for 2 weeks, and it's been just a wonderful experience thus far, and I'm really excited moving forward and working with you all. I've had a number of conversations with you all, members of the council, as well as a number of staff members. I was expecting at our first council meeting to have envelope opening 101, but we'll roll with it and see where we go. I also want to one more time point out and thank Steve Harsman for the job that he did during these last several months. I know firsthand what a overwhelming task it can be at times, and he was managing multiple balls and keeping them all in the air, and had a lot of things on his plate, and accomplished a lot during that period. So hats off and good job, Steve. Appreciate it. And also, speaking of Steve, he has taken a couple days of vacation at his last week, and I think the staff was ready for him to get back after having to deal with me for those several days at my frantic pace that I tend to run at. I wanted to share, I've got a number of things. My report is going to be a little bit longer tonight with your as I kind of get started, I wanted to let you know some things I've been working on, things that I've been working with some others on, and then kind of things that are coming up. I've had a number of meetings, as I mentioned, not only with council members, but also Gilbert Carlson is here tonight. We've got a meeting coming up yet this week. Met with a bank, the public schools, the library building committee, and I'll come back to them in a moment, a real estate developer. I was able to go to one day of the league conference. That was a good experience as well. And upcoming tomorrow, we have a visit at SNU. Looking forward to that. And I think that will be very nice. And Councilmember Lewinsky has kind of helped to set all that up, and I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. Also have a comp plan steering committees coming up next week. And then I have a meeting set up in October with the Oklahoma City City Manager, so I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully be reaching out to some of the other suburb city managers as well, and establish relationships and see how we can possibly work together in the future to everyone's mutual benefit. I also look forward to one day being able to meet up with the folks at the Children's Hospital and a number of other businesses in our community as well. JR mentioned during his comment, a side note, that the big trash pickup, well, it's coming up October the 3rd. I wanted to kind of bring that to everyone's attention. It'll start at 6 a.m. on that date, and it will go from north to south. I think this is a usual and customary procedure. They'll go all the way through the community, and then they'll go back and hit it again. It usually takes about a week. Encourage folks to have their stuff out at the beginning of the week, not the end, or not 3 weeks later, and call us and say, hey, you didn't pick up our trash. And by the way, that's not just a Bethany thing. I've seen that everywhere, every town I've been in where we have this kind of thing. There's always people that call after the fact, hey, you didn't pick up our lids. Well, which time did we miss them? So hopefully folks will be able to get those out at the very beginning. And if there are any questions about that, we have the information posted at cityofbethany.org. So encourage folks to go online and have a look at those. Also, speaking of the website, that's one of the things that's coming up. Steve has been working on that along with Stacy Peck. The new website is planned to be rolled out by the end of the month, so we're looking forward to the upgrades that are going to come with that, and any suggestions that you might have, please let us know. Send us an email. And my email does work now again. I was offline for a few days, but I'm kind of back in the saddle again. I wanted to also mention that we've had some staff discussions. I wanted to let you all know that I have noticed that number one identified thing in the comp plan is code enforcement. And I kind of take that as a mandate, that being number one. If you have any feedback otherwise, please let me know now because we're about to ramp up. And so And just so we're all on the same page, it kind of cuts both ways. It's not only just the weeds and the garbage, but it's also when you're building the new building and wanting to cut corners, and the answer should be no. It should be, let's follow the rules, and if we don't like the rules, then you all should change those. And so we'll try to follow the rules as best we possibly can. But I did want to bring that up during my report because it kind of represents a change of policy, even though that is our policy, with us doing a little different enforcement. So we're about to ramp up. So I wanted to let you all know that we're about to do that. Projects that are going on, Council Member Larson and I had a meeting with the Library Building Committee just yesterday. It was a great meeting, actually. A lot of discussion. The schematic kickoff meeting, which we will have for our full committee, which I believe 4 people from council are a member of, will be on the 26th. And design development then will be due on November 22nd. And so we'll want to have a full committee meeting on that date as well. Construction design is due on February the 28th, that's next year. And then bid letting, hopefully if all this follows through, and I have no reason to believe it won't, based upon our conversations yesterday, bid letting will be March 21st, or in that, very close to that date. So things are moving along very nicely. We discussed at length various options yesterday. One of the things was maybe an opportunity to save a few dollars, probably not a lot, but a little bit maybe, but also some time if we go ahead and bid out the demolition of the old building separately and first, and then come back with a actual bid for the construction, and then it's clean, and then the builder will know exactly what it is that they're going to be building, and not have to worry about some unknown costs with the demolition. So that was discussed yesterday. Also, as I mentioned, we have a slew of meetings scheduled. We're also looking, we've been in contact with a consultant that has worked with the Metropolitan Library System that I think could do us a really good job. We've had discussions. We have debated about whether to hire this person as a consultant or to actually hire them as an employee, a part-time employee for the duration of the project. And so we're looking at doing that actually, and we had discussions today, and we've even drawn up drawn a blank, I'm sorry. A job description, thank you. And so we have that in place, and so we'll probably begin advertising that yet this week, and advertise for a week for that. So I wanted to let you all know about that exciting project, and looking forward to working with you all on this. I think it's exciting for our community. The comp plan I've talked about already, but I am equally excited about that. The comp plan steering committee is going to be meeting next week, as I said. The goal, my idea anyway, for the outcome of the meeting is to establish some priorities. What are the most important things for us to start working on? And so, there's a lot of things to be done, a lot of costs that are incorporated over that, but of course the plan is 2030, not 2017, so we don't have to do everything in the next 3 months. But I think getting going on it is quite exciting. A couple other things, as I mentioned, the website's going to be rolling out by the end of the month. Laserfish project, Stacy Peck has been working on. We actually have the technical support folks are here in-house. They were here today, and they're beginning the rollout of the Laserfish project. As you might recall, that's the document management and storage system, and so that's exciting for us to become a little more sophisticated in the way we manage our paper or our information, rather, instead of paper. Also, another thing internally that we've begun conversations with, and there will be coming, is a performance review system for our employees. And we've had an initial rollout with where we have done an initial performance review of department heads, so they've had that experience of that, and so now we're going to begin discussions about a rollout to the whole organization, the training that we'll implement with that. So that's exciting. And then the final couple things are just some overall comments. Yeah, we have some challenges here, and every city I've ever seen has challenges. We're no different. we've also got a lot of really good things going for us too, and it's exciting to see those things. Comp plan I mentioned a moment ago, I just congratulate this community for, our community now, our community for the work that's been done on that to get us to the point that we're at now. And then the other comment I might mention to you that you're probably going to hear me talking about quite a bit in the upcoming future is our organization. If we wish to accomplish the comp plan and the lofty goals and good lofty goals that are in it, we're going to have to align our organization and our thinking to accomplish those goals. And I would just offer that I don't think we're there at this point, but we can get there. And so, as I said, I think we'll have conversations about those coming up in the future. I've got a lot of great ideas, a lot of excitement. I'm trying to hold back the reins for a little while and do a lot of listening, listening to you all, listening to staff, listening to the community, and then but I probably won't be too shy either, so looking forward to that. The last thing I want to leave you with is just the idea of, I think one of the best things that we can do, we as a group, the council, and also at least our senior staff, is conversation and dialogue. And I think the more that we can have, the healthier our organization, the better our community will be. And I'd like to leave you with the idea of having a retreat sooner rather than later. We can have it right here in Bethany. It doesn't have to be it might be nice to not be at the council chambers, but somewhere in the town would be fine. We have lots of conference rooms around the community. It'd be an open meeting. Anyone could come. But I'd like to see if we could schedule that. So if you have any comments for me on that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with seeing if we can figure out some dates and working with everybody's schedules. So at least get that on the calendar and find a location. And with that, I'm sorry to be so long-winded on my first report.
That's quite all right. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 9 is council members' announcements, comments, and proposals. Councilmember Knapp, I'll start with you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, JR, for the envelope opening demonstration. Appreciate that. I haven't received mine yet, but I'll look for it. I really don't have any comments other than just wanted to say that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Shirey.
Yes, I have a couple of announcements. And last Saturday night, my wife and I attended a theater presentation at SNU over the old, I can't think of the name of it right offhand. It was used to be the Fine Arts Auditorium. What's the name of that?
Cantrell Hall.
Cantrell Hall, yes, Cantrell Hall. And it's very delightful at my age and everything. It was a Shakespeare play, and much to do about nothing. But it was set on a local, on local times, and it was very delightful. The theater group here in town is located at 3913 North College, and they offer acting lessons. So if anybody on this circle would like to go to take a few acting lessons, there would be one place to do it. And their next offering, I believe, is October the 19th. Look in the Trib and see what they have to say. And I believe you'd be entertained. I really do believe you would be. I had a couple calls today about an event that was going on in the Elderline Park. I believe it was some kind of a track meet or something or other.
Cross-country track meet, I think.
Yeah. Or a cross-country. It was cross-country meets what it was, put on by Bethany's Public Schools.
I'm not sure. Anybody know?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know about today's event, but typically they would host that. That'd be a host school.
Yeah, host school.
And then all the other schools would come in and participate with that. But I don't know about today's event.
It's a good use for the park, but I think I would really like to have an email on it. So if somebody calls me and wants to know what's going on at the park because they can't use the park as the way they were using it yesterday, I can explain to them. I know several years ago, Pumpkin City West has cross-country team, and they had a cross-country, or they were training for a cross-country, or they had a cross-country meet, and a young man was killed he fell in and drowned in the lake. And this seems like a very safe place to do. The kids do not run around in areas that are traffic prone, and they block off streets. But if we just have a little more information put out on when that happens, so we could tell that this is what was going on. And welcome aboard to the front line up here, Mr. City Manager. You're going to enjoy it, I'm sure. This may not be as sophisticated as Alliance, Nebraska, but we can certainly make it amusing. You have a good time. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Councilmember Herron.
Thank you, Mayor. I too was going to comment on, it was good to see there were several hundred people at the Eldon Lyon Park. And I think the more groups and schools and organizations that use it, it's better. The more people come to our town. That actually was going on at dinner hour, so hopefully a lot of them stayed around to eat here at our fine restaurants. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Larson.
Are we going to see you at the acting class next week?
I don't need any acting lessons, I can assure you.
I might agree to that.
He's acting right now.
I want to say, I want to thank the city for allowing 5 of us to attend the Oklahoma Municipal League conference in downtown Oklahoma City this last week. There was a lot to be learned, a lot of networking, a lot of information that we can take back to the table and bring to the other council members, and things that we probably wouldn't learn otherwise. I understand that our director of OML is going to be leaving us, so we'll be looking at someone new in their leadership, and that can be exciting also, as we know how new leadership can be. I also want to thank staff for the new implementation of the water bill, despite some of the people like my husband that had difficulty opening it. Once I saw one that hadn't been opened, it really wasn't that difficult. But a little practice, a YouTube showing, something on the website. You already got it? Yeah, I'm impressed. But, even something on Channel 20 that just showed, there's a real nice lady in the office that knows how to do it perfectly with no tears, like Mr. Hartzman. Might be something that we could do just to have out for a while to show people how to open their water bill. And like Mr. Shirey mentioned, having the people at Eldon, and Mr. Heron, having the people at Eldon Lyon Park, I'm always excited to see people there. I do have some concerns, though. I drove by there toward the end of the event, and I noticed a couple of vendors. And I know that when we have the 4th of July, there are permit or applications that have to be adhered to, and I think that's something when you're reviewing this item number 5 that we address that. Food trucks also, I understand we don't have anything on the books about food trucks. So while we're looking at that particular ordinance, maybe we can look into those also and do a 3 whammy with it. Mr. Hartzman, the lines aren't so heavy tonight. Nice. Hope you had a nice vacation. You did a very good job serving as city manager while we were waiting for JD to get here. And I too want to welcome you, JD. Look forward to working with you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Lundstraw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start off with a sad note. One of our friends, Jeff Seams' father, passed away this last week, and so we want to send our sincere condolences to him and his family. His family and my family intertwined years ago when his sister was, stick with me now, no, it's not that bad. His sister was my wife's roommate in college. And so when you have friends like the Seams and you know their parents and you know the heritage that they have established throughout the years, you miss individuals, but those individuals are well, the old cliche is they're better off there than they were here. But we sometimes are just simply blessed when we have family members like Fred Seams, and for those of us who have parents still living, or you know, any family member for that matter, we don't want to take family members for granted. Once they're gone, except for in our hearts and our memories, but they are special to our lives. And JD, as I was thinking about you being here today, and some of us up here on the council use tools, and I'll just use Mr. Herron and Mr. Shirey as an example, or myself as an example. You know, we can have all kinds of tools to work with, all kinds of things that we can do with those tools, but if you give me a set of plumber's tools, I start saying things that are not good. My attitude starts going south, and water does what water wants to do. But if you give me electrical tools, no problems. John, I mean, you agree with that. And JD, you seem to have not only the tools here in Bethany that we've tried to achieve throughout the years, but you know how to use them. And I think that's a very key to having a successful organization, is not only having a great box set of tools, but the ability and the skill and the knowledge to use those to make a place a better community. And so in having you here, I'm proud to say, hopefully, that we've done a decent job in giving you a set of tools, our staff members and the policies that we have in place. And I'm very proud to say, I think you know how to use them properly for the betterment of our community. And I just wanted to say, welcome aboard, and if we can ever do anything to assist you, just let us know, because we're all on the same team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore.
Randy about wrapped her up right there. That was pretty good. My first day here, I told what I said, mainly John Sugar, your predecessor, was that Bethany is a special place, and we've got a secret weapon, and our secret weapon are the citizens. And unlike no other people I've ever met anywhere in the world, and they can work with you or they can work against you. I think you've got the right set of tools exactly to get things done. Just a couple other things, and welcome too, by the way. And Steve, you did a good job under very difficult circumstances, so good job. My absence last meeting, I don't think a lot of people realize what was actually going on with the major earthquake that we actually had. I think there's a state had a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, which in my business really stopped our worlds from continuing, and it almost stopped the economy from continuing too for a while, because there was an immediate moratorium put on any new insurance for 19 days. I don't know where they got 19 days. So we all had to go into action. But if you think about it, there'd be no bank, you don't close a loan for 19 days. There's no home loans, there's no bank loans, there's no certificates of insurance issued, there's no inland marine coverage. So if you have a shipment of oil taken off or gasoline, anything, everything stops. And it was stopping. It was going to start to back up. And it took us a couple of days to get them off of that moratorium of new insurance until they found out exactly what was going on with the ground shaking. And it was really it could have been catastrophic to the economy. It really could have been. But just want to explain my absence. Fire trucks that were outside today, they look good. Anybody that has not seen the fire trucks needs to go look at them close. They are world class. They're great. Whoever needs to look into Frida's problem, I don't know, city manager, or we need to get that correct, to do what we can to just make it right, do the right thing, whatever it takes to get to the bottom of it, or find out exactly what the facts are, just to help her out. Because it's hard when somebody comes up here and has no idea of how the system works. We're not allowed to address them, and they come up here, and it's hard to get up here and speak. It's harder than we realize. And she probably was worried about it all day, coming up here and talking in front of us. But we need to not ignore that and just take care of the problem, whatever. Even if we have to pass the hat for $25, whatever it takes. Code enforcement, I think that you nailed it right on the head. That's pretty high on the list of priorities. But do we have a city inspector right now, or do we just have code enforcement officers?
They're both,
We do, who is the city inspector?
Dustin, help me with this.
Nichols.
Okay, so he passed his test and he's an inspector.
I believe he's passed all the tests, correct? And he's continuing, there's some additional tests he's still pursuing.
Okay. That's, one other thing I've got a question on. Mr. Hartsman is no longer over the water department and public works, is that correct?
We have a interim public works director, which is Steve Caton.
I mean, Kate, I'm sorry.
I didn't know you were.
You look so much-
That's news.
But,
David Buchanan is the interim over public works.
okay. We as a council decided that there's a certain amount of carcinogens and things that are allowable underneath federal and state law, parts per million or parts per billion or whatever it is. And we as a council decided that we were not going to introduce any parts per billion at all into our water supply. And I want to just make sure that he's following that same program.
Right, that we're not polluting our own water.
Correct, because the city of Oklahoma City and the state and the federal, they allow you to pollute your water with carcinogens up to a certain amount. We have all decided that we're not going to do that.
Right.
I just want to make sure that same program is followed by Mr. Buchanan, if he's over there, which I'm sure he will.
I took a tour of the water plant, and it was very impressive, and I will circle back and ensure that what the policy you're talking about is it continues.
And I'm
certain
sure he
it
will,
does.
but I just want to make sure it
Sure.
is. The other thing is, we've got the Showery family well represented, but we have a special person here tonight. Anybody remember Gilpin and Plumas? Anybody know those names? Stump? Anyways, Stump, we have their grandson here, Greg, from the Stump family. I just wanted to recognize Greg. He's been around Bethany for about 60 years or so. But anyways, just wanted to recognize him. That's all I got.
All right, Councilmember Holloway.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, I'm very excited to have JD here, and look forward to working with you, and I think it's a very exciting time for the city, excuse me, can everybody hear me all right now? Sorry. My first statement was welcome to JD Cox as our new city manager. I'm very excited for him to be here. I look forward to all the great things that are going on in Bethany to continue forward. Bethany is a great city. We have a great staff. I just want to reiterate some of the things that I think, JD, you had mentioned the big trash pickup day. I want to be sure that people realize that that is going on, and that's going to be October 3rd. And again, be sure to have things out by your street. Something else that I like to mention around this time of the year, and this will be the second time I've mentioned it this year, is please do not blow your grass clippings or dirt into the roadway to go down our sewer system. That is a very harmful thing to happen. So just blow your grass clippings back up in your yard, and or however you can do that. That's what I do. Mow, it may get out in the street, but you take the blower and blow it right back up into your yard. Something else that was mentioned, I think Mr. Lundstrom mentioned this. My heart goes out to the Seams family for the loss of their father, Fred Seams. And we just will continue lifting them in prayer through those times. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Yes, welcome, JD. I knew you would hit the ground running, and you've certainly done that with OML and leadership and all of the other things coming right along, and still working with the staff and meeting people, and I'm pleased with that. I'm really excited about the new website. Steve knows how much I've talked about that. And one of the things I'd really like to see is events that we know about in the city on our website. We don't really have a newspaper. We don't really have another way of notifying people of what's going on. And our webpage is one way that people can let us know about their events. and then we can post them and maybe let people know when to go to things. I hate learning that I missed something. I read in the minutes of the Bethany Improvement Foundation that Shannon Lucid is going to be in town, I think, this Saturday, and that's the only way I even knew about it, and I'm going to be out of town this Saturday. So those are things we just somehow need to know about. I went to several meetings at OML that had to do with code enforcement, and that is a priority for all of us. But in the comp plan and at those meetings, there was talk of carrots and sticks, and we do need to look into ways that we can provide carrots for people as incentives to improve their properties and not just the sticks of punishment. So I'm glad we'll be going that direction as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to reiterate on the big trash pickup. Please make sure that your stuff is out at the curb, but not near any gas meters, directly under power lines, or too close to a mailbox where that can be damaged directly over your water meter. Be cognizant of those things as that those items get out to the curb, because there's a chance, depending on where that's placed, that it may not get picked up. Hopefully we'll do a good job of communicating why we're not picking that up, but that is always a possibility. So, I mean, if power lines run directly all the way across the front of your property, then we may have to figure something else out with you, but please make sure that you keep it away from those items. The equipment we use, we don't want to damage anything else, including, gas meters that could be bad for the neighborhood, so.
Mayor, one
Yes.
other thing on that too. On that day, don't park your car in front of where they're going to be picking items
Right,
up.
don't set the
It's
items at the
coming
curb and then block it with a vehicle. That's just as bad as a gas meter or power line or anything else. They will pass you up for sure. And I too want to give my condolences to Jeff Seams and his family in the passing of his father. I know Mr. Seams had been ill for some time, so like you said, Randy, in a better place, but that doesn't make it any less difficult when that's a parent or a grandparent or loved one that's passing on. So definitely our thoughts and prayers with them tonight. And the only other thing I have is welcome, JD. I know we've had several conversations, but I'm glad to have you up here tonight, and we are hitting the ground. You're hitting the ground running, and I'm glad to see that. Glad to see the progress that you've already made and are quickly making in the future. So, welcome aboard, and Steve, thanks again for the work that you did in the interim there. We greatly appreciate you keeping the ship pointed in the correct direction and keeping us moving forward. So, thanks.
One more thing if I could.
Sure.
I don't know how you can do this, but it's nice having a fresh set of eyes also. But I'm sure you could think about a way to handle it. I've had a lot of phone calls over the last however long about code enforcement. A lot of them happen at night or after work hours. Example, I drove through and counted over 100 trucks, big trucks. Not all of them were semis, but a lot of them were one-tons with 20, 30, 40-foot big trailers on the back that, for like yard service or dirt hauling or something. And there's absolutely no way at all. Well, my truck won't even go down between some of the streets. I mean, there's a fire truck could no way get down those streets. But in Bethany, you're not supposed to park those giant trucks out in front. And those guys that mow for a living, there's literally dozens and dozens around town. You can barely drive down the streets, but it happens after hours, so I don't know how we would handle that. They get up early, they're gone before we start work hours, and at night, they come after we go. But that's a major concern of citizens that I hear a lot.
The police department can definitely handle that for sure if it's any kind of safety issue with blocking a street or partially blocking a street.
Well, I think they did say they could. It was a code enforcement, I understand.
Well, I'm pretty sure the police officer can cite them for the vehicle not being proper or whatever it is. I mean, in fact, I think it's my understanding, we typically don't just because they have a job to do and, getting bogged down in code enforcement would be a nightmare. But I mean, I believe they can enforce any municipal law on the books, so they could take action on that if they so chose to do so and write that same citation that Paul or Dustin would write. So, I mean, a phone call to the police department would.
I think what you're speaking of, Mr. Moore, is the fact that they're parked in the right-of-way. And our ordinances say
They're parked all over the place.
that you can only park a commercial vehicle in a right-of-way for 2 hours at a time. And if they have a trailer on that has any type of work equipment up on it, that is considered commercial. And for 2 hours. Now, I don't know whether I had rather have our police department cruising neighborhoods that need enforcement, or cruising neighborhoods that needs a cleaning up. I'm very, this.
And they're at the same place, we were just talking about that. A lot of them are the same
Okay.
place.
So they could hit two birds with one stone?
Exactly.
Okay. If I might say something about this lady that was here this evening, if she had pulled that back upon her property, out of the right-of-way, the city of Bethany has no reason to pick it up, because they do not enter private property to pick trash up. Because if they would, I would give them about 10 or 15 ricks of wood, and they just, let them haul it off, and I'd pay for it. But they won't come in and get it. So I think we should instruct our people to say, you don't owe us the $25. I know how, this lady is probably on Social Security, and $25 is a lot of money. I know what Social Security is, because that's what I have to live off of. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to follow up with?
Yes, actually, as a result of our conversation, I have several items for recap. So it looks like we'll be setting up a committee to look at the permitting process. And speaking of that, Mr. Shirey, you brought up the idea of you'd like to have information when these events are happening, but this is the perfect reason why we need to have our permitting process. Everyone should come through and get your, even if it's on consent calendar, or consent docket, council should approve any closures of streets or any use of public property, and you should know about it, and I think that's a fair request. The problem is right now, we have no mechanism to gather that information. They might just be holding events. Now, I'll talk to the police in the meantime and see if they will provide us. If they know of an event, they'll let us know, and we can send out an email to you all. But until we get this in place, we don't really have the mechanism to control that. But we'll do our best to get it to you.
And that's actually why that item was pulled tonight, so that we can change some of that language and make that more encompassing.
So you're familiar with this problem?
Absolutely.
Good.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think we both are.
Okay, so that was the second thing. We'll talk about the demo on how to open an envelope maybe for that. Let's see. We'll follow up on Ms. Keene. I do want to share something, even though I don't know all the facts that are circumstances of that. We talked about earlier having code enforcement. If we're going to do code enforcement, then the first thing out of the hopper that we can't do is just waive willy-nilly all the fees until we find out what the facts are.
This is a making of the city of Bethany. They should not have come on her property to pick this up.
We'll look into that. And then
She has pictures.
we'll follow up on the carcinogens and the water question that was brought up. Also, the website will incorporate events into the website for the future. And then also we'll follow up on the code enforcement after hours. There are mechanisms that we can do that, so I'll be happy to do that. Did I miss anything?
You might, What about, you might just add channel 20, if we're still doing channel 20, incorporating that in the events on channel 20.
Oh,
You would do
yeah.
look at channel
Not paying $80.
Also, I think scheduling a retreat and getting dates cleared for that was on your docket.
Oh, well, yes, that is right. Thank you.
I had 3 people in my ward come after me on that same thing.
All right, is there any new business to come before the Bethany City Council? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we will adjourn until October 4th, 2016. Without objection, I'll declare us adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Public Works Authority. We have the consent docket items 1A and B. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 2 is consideration and possible award of a bid for water treatment plant lime sludge extraction, hauling, and disposal to Jacobs Farms LLC in the amount of $117,350. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Public Works Authority? Hearing none, if there is no objection, I'll declare us adjourned until October 4th, 2016. Without objection, we are adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Hospital Trust. We have the consent docket items 1A and B. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Hospital Trust? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we will adjourn until October 4th, 2016. Without objection, we are adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Development Authority. We have the consent docket items 1A through C. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
Motion to approve, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Development Authority? Hearing none, if there is no objection, I'll declare us adjourned until October 4th, 2016. Without objection, we are adjourned, and that concludes tonight's business. Thank you.